through, I'm sure they will be able to catch up. So just first of all, welcome to Ryan, Mackenzie and Melissa from BDO. Thank you guys very much for your time this morning. Obviously we are recording it so we can, I guess people can watch it again at a later date, which is one of the things that can sometimes be a bit annoying because people will record it and watch it later on in the evening. Everyone's got their mutes on already, so we don't need to go through too much of that. As we go through, Ryan's going to do some intros of the BDO team, and then at the end of Melissa's session, she'll go first. We'll have questions there, but if there are questions that you have as we go through, then just please fire them into the chat function as we go through, and all of that. If they're ones that we just for clarification and stuff, we'll deal with them there and then. Otherwise, we do have some dedicated time at the end of the two sessions. So on that note, I will hand over to, I think, Ryan. You're going to do start off with introducing the team there. So I will leave everyone in your capable hands. Thanks, Ryan.
Awesome. Cheers, Mark. So first, I'd just like to thank DairyNZ for getting us involved today. So the topic of technology and processing is something that we've been dealing with for quite a few years now. And if you think back before COVID and now with COVID happening, it's sort of taught us that we need to think of different ways of processing our accounts and making everything a lot easier for our clients. So using these tools that we're going to cover today, I think you guys will get some good insights out and how you can do things differently and hopefully for the better. So yeah, so first, just myself. So I've been at BDO for nearly 12 years and I'm an associate of the firm. So the last sort of 5 years, I've been working really in depth with dairy clients to help them get better insights into the information. And another key interest of mine is technology. So definitely was keen to jump on board on Xero and Hubdoc early on so we can make everyone's life a lot easier. The team here at BDO have about 70 of staff and 30 of those are dedicated to mainly dairy farming clients. And so when we talk about our dairy farming clients, we have everyone from contract milkers all the way to farm owners and sort of anything in between. So this is the first of our 2 webinars that we're running. So we're running another one next week about Figured and running reports there. But today, as I said, we're just focusing right onto Xero and Hubdoc and how you can use these to streamline your processing so you're out on the farm doing what you do best, and so you're not having painful times of doing your GST on the last day of the month, and then so you can really have a good insight on the information whenever you want. So today we thought we'd just keep it high level, but as Mark said, just keep firing any questions that come to your mind. And since we've got a few here, then just keep firing them through and we can jump into them whenever, but we'll set some time aside. So we're hoping that the slides will take about half an hour, and then from then we can just jump into any questions. So lucky today to have 2 of our gurus in this space, Melissa and Mackenzie. So these guys work on these products all the time with the rest of the team, and they work especially close with our clients. So I'll hand over to Melissa, who will talk about Xero first.
Thanks, Ryan. I'm Melissa and I've been with BDO Taranaki for about 6.5 years now. As Ryan said, one of my big passion points is firstly getting our clients onto the right accounting software so that they've got those tools available to them and giving them the confidence and the tools that they need to be able to use that system once they're on it to make their lives easier and know what's going on in their business. So having said that, we know that accounting software can be a really daunting and difficult thing to get your head around. And we're all time poor and want to get in and out and get all of that coding done as quickly as we possibly can. The problem with that though is that if you aren't taking time to enter all of the details when you're doing that coding, we can have some information missing at the end of the year. So you can't run reports through the year that mean anything to you, and you have all of those wonderful pesky questions from your accountant that we all know you love getting. So if we can spend a little bit of extra time during that initial GST coding, then we should hopefully be able to avoid some of those questions your GST returns will be more accurate, and again, you can get all of that reports that you need out of your software at any given time throughout the year. So our first tip that we're going to go through today is how to get all of that detail in there when you're first doing your coding. If we can see from the get-go what a transaction's for, then we don't have to send you a whole list of queries when we're doing your accounts, and nobody has to spend time going through all of those invoices to jog their memory of what a transaction is for 6 months down the track. This goes for a whole range of transactions, things like your livestock sales and purchases, repairs and maintenance, or asset purchases, things that may be a little bit out of the ordinary for day-to-day business, that we may need a little bit of extra detail to double check that where something's ended up in Xero is where it needs to go. There are other transactions though that where we don't need that, things that are very common in day-to-day, things like your bank fees or your interest on your loans or transfers to your personal account. They don't need further information, so it's okay if we don't have that detail. The other key thing to remember is that the more specific detail you can enter in here, the better, and the less likely we're going to hound you for more information. In this example here, we have a livestock sale, as we can see in this top details from your bank statement. In the little blue box, the who field or who we've received the money from, that's been entered really generically as ASB. And the who and the why have been left blank, so there's no detail in there. In the bottom of the screen, you can see the report that we run. It's an account transactions report, and when we're having a quick overview, we can't tell any detail as to whether that's correct. And even looking at that is from the bank, so it doesn't necessarily look like it's in the right place at a quick level, at a quick skim. We can easily update that information though. So if we were to fix this transaction up, now we've entered that the who is Silver Fern Farms, which just like that is much better. And in the why, we've entered that we've sold 157 bobby calves. So in our view, you can see how quickly that's changed what we see as accountants, or you can also run this report if something's not quite looking right in your reports when you're running them. So we can easily see that that works out. It's in the right code and we're happy with where it's coded. We can also give a quick sense check. That works out at about $35 a head for 157 bobby calves. So we know that that's reasonably right, that we can put that in the right place in your livestock reconciliation at the end of the year. So everything is all working well there now. In this next example, we have a payment that we've made to Norwoods for some repairs to a baler. As this transaction is above $1,000 excluding GST, we need to do a quick check when we're doing your accounts that it is in fact repairs and not a new asset. Now, some of you may be more aware that this has gone up this threshold. So you may have been used to doing this for any transactions over $500, but in recent times, the government has just announced that this is going to go up for the 12 months from the 17th of March 2020 through to the 17th of March 2021. It's in fact going up to $5,000 as a result of COVID. And then from the 18th of March next year, it's going to go back to $1,000 excluding GST permanently. So anything over that threshold is really good if we can get those details into Xero from the get-go. And with those details, it's also really important, again, to be specific as possible in the why field so that we don't need to go digging through those invoices again. So in this example, we can see that we have in fact entered the correct who this time. Norwood Farm Machinery is who we've paid, so that's fine. The issue with this one is that in the why field, all we've entered is repairs, not any further detail about what the payment's for. We can already tell in our report that you think that this payment is treated as repairs and maintenance because that's where you've coded it. So that extra description isn't telling us any further information. If we were to fix this transaction, we could do exactly the same, but this time around in the why field, we've entered that we're replacing the blades on the baler. In our view, we can instantly have a quick skim, and there it is, that description's there, and we can instantly see that that is in fact a repair and isn't a new asset that we need to add onto your asset register. So you can see with just taking a few extra seconds for each of those transactions, we can increase how much detail is in there, and we don't have to start asking you all of those questions that take up your time when we're doing your accounts. So we're saving everybody some time, and all of that information is instantly at our fingertips. Having said that though, we know that running a farming business means that you can have a lot of transactions going in and out of your bank account every month. And having to enter that level of detail for each transaction can be very time consuming. The great news is that Xero has a feature called Bank Rules that can help you reduce some of the noise so that you have the extra time to focus on the transactions that need that extra information by getting rid of some of the ones that don't. So bank rules can be used to help automatically code regular transactions. So all you have to do is give a quick review that it's correct, and then it will be out of your way. So these are great for those transactions like bank fees and interest and transfers to personal accounts that are regular, but they shouldn't be used for the ones that we've just discussed. Things like your livestock sales and your repairs and maintenance, because they're the things we need that detail, and we can't add extra detail when we're using rules each time we use it. Creating rules can be a little bit tricky as you need to get the specific right balance of details that's going to pick up every month. So this may be an area where you call on your advisor to give you a bit of a hand if you're having a few issues, but definitely still look to use them because they're going to save you time in the long run. So in this example here, we have our monthly bank fee to ASB. On the left, that's what we're seeing in our reconcile screen. On the right, this is the screen where we create the bank rule. So we're saying that every time that the payee detail is ASB Bank and the description on the bank statement is the monthly bank charge, is going to pick up this rule and suggest that we code this transaction to bank fees. So every time that criteria is met on a transaction, the rule is going to be automatically applied. This is then what you see after the rule's set up when you go and reconcile your account. So that criteria has been met, so Xero is suggesting that we use the monthly bank fees rule. All you need to do is check that that makes sense for that transaction and click OK, and that transaction's out of the way in less than 10 seconds. So nice and easy. Oh, too far. Having said that, once you've coded all of your data, we've gone way too many. There we go, that's better. While Xero has great features like bank fees and bank rules that are aimed to make your life easier, you can't always rely on all of the features to be 100% accurate. So we just need to take some time to make sure it's correct. At the end of the day, it's technology, so it's doing its best, but at the end of the day, we still know better than the technology as to what's going on in your business. One of these features that you need to be a little bit careful of is the autocode function, which suggests coding based on how we've previously coded transactions. So bank rules, it's similar to that, but we set that criteria for bank rules that's telling Xero what to do. And autocode, it's picking up just based on how we've done it previously. So while that can be really helpful, there are also some times when we go and purchase very different things from the same store. So we just need to double check that what it's then suggesting is correct. So in this example, the last time we went down to New World, we purchased some beer to have some drinks with our farm workers. And we coded that to entertainment and said that we had to purchase some Staff Hub drinks. That's all fine for last time, that's correct. But now this time we've gone back to New World and we've instead bought some Band-Aids and other things for our first aid kit. Xero's picked up that we've gone to New World and is suggesting that we've gone back and bought some more beer. So suggesting that we're going to code it like we did last time. But considering that this is for the Band-Aid, that's not correct. So we need to change the code from entertainment to health and safety. But the other thing to double check is also to update that why so that the description's going to say that it is Band-Aids. Because if your accountant's doing a quick run over your accounts and they saw beers in your health and safety code, that's something they should probably question. So we want to get that right so that they don't have to ask you that. Once you have everything coded in Xero for your GST, it's important to take another couple of minutes just to have a quick review that what you've entered into Xero is what you expect is correct. This is the easiest time for you to pick up those errors and fix anything that is missing. It happens to the best of us, but it's good to fix it up while everything is fresh in your memory, rather than 6 months down the track when your accountant asks you and you've got no idea because it's been 6 months down the track and a lot's happened since then. So to review your GST coding, you just need to open your GST return report, which is under your accounting menu in Xero. Once you're in your return, you'll see that there's this tab for the GST audit report. If you click on that, that report's going to show you all of the coding you've entered into Xero for this GST period. You can then click on any of the columns in the report to sort the columns based on what's easier for you to have a quick overview of. In this case, it's been sorted by the account code. And then you can just run down it and see if something doesn't quite look right and that the account doesn't match up with what the details on the report are. If you find something that doesn't look right, you can then just easily click on that transaction. It will take you to a screen where you can edit that transaction, click update, and then it's going to be corrected in your GST return nice and easy. Once you're happy that all of your GST coding is correct, it's then also really important that you save a final copy of your GST return before you file it with IRD. This isn't going to lock your file or stop you fixing any errors in another couple of months if you've missed them now and find them later on. But what it does do is it lets Xero know that this version of your report is the version that you're going to file with IRD. That then lets Xero keep track of any future changes that are made to your GST so that you can amend those in future returns. And that saves you again having to keep track of those or your accountant having to dig through everything when they're doing your accounts to find what's changed. So again, it's saving everybody time, which is what we're all about with cloud software. The other great thing is once you've saved a final copy of your return, you then get this option in Xero to automatically file your GST with IRD. Once you click the File Now with IRD button, it just asks for your My IR login details, then it will send all of your GST details for that period through to IRD. So you don't need to punch those numbers into IRD manually. That's going to save you about 5 minutes time, but it's also going to save any errors where you accidentally type the wrong number into Xero. So your GST returns should always be correct, which is always another great thing that you don't need to fix up any errors down the track. And there are our top 4 tips for saving some time and improving the quality of your information in Xero. Pass it back to Ryan now for any questions at this stage.
Cool, thanks, Melissa. So did anyone have any burning questions about anything that Melissa's covered, or is there anything else that you've been using Xero and there's a few bugbears that you've got?
I've just got one. That File Now functionality looks good. Do other software programs, are you able to do that? I know MYOB, I always have to go into the IRD website and punch in the figures, as you said, Melissa. Is it only Xero that has that File Now functionality?
Yeah, I'm aware of at the moment.
Yeah, because with our because we've got clients on MYB and Cash Manager Rural, and they have to manually input it each time. So yeah, but we can definitely have a look into that.
I know there's a lot of the softwares are all trying to make everything as automatic as possible. So I would expect that providers like MYOB and Cash Manager would look at something like this, but may not quite have it in place at the moment.
Yep. Okay. Thanks.
just about that, I use Xero and I can't get that function to work, so I wouldn't use it as a reason to change.
Is there any, do you know why it's not working, or you just tried it a couple of times and just not going?
I just won't link up with the IRD site. It says it will and then it won't, and it's not that hard to go in and manually import it, and I think that would be less troublesome than trying to troubleshoot it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it is only saving you a couple of minutes, so it's not a huge time saving by any means, but yeah, it's interesting, some of the things that work and don't work for people. But yeah, some people really like it, and some people it's not a big issue at all. So it is interesting to hear that.
Melissa, can you just go back a little bit? You talked about the change the IRD's made for this year, where they've lifted the limit to $5,000. Next year it's back to $1,000, I think. Does that mean that farmers can go and buy any piece of equipment or anything that would traditionally be a capital purchase, and long as it's under $5,000, will now be counted as a cash flow item, for want of a better description?
Yes, that is correct. For that 12-month period between the 17th of March 2020 and the 17th of March 2021, anything that is under that $5,000 threshold will be treated as a repair or expense item rather than needing to be capitalised.
Okay, so that's a reasonable sort of saving, assuming you need that piece of equipment, isn't it?
Yeah, that's going to mean you get that deduction straight away rather than slowly over a long period of time depreciation. So definitely upfront tax saving that you can get for the next 12 months.
So just to clarify, there'd be no depreciation recovered issues. It is a direct expense. It doesn't even exist in the depreciation schedule. Is that right?
No, so it won't need to be on the depreciation schedule if it's purchased within these 12 months, so it will have absolutely no impact on depreciation. You'll be able to claim all of that expense in this financial year, and it won't need to go on the asset schedule, so yeah, won't have anything to do with depreciation or any impacts on depreciation recovery.
Well, thank you.
I'll just go at one here, just about, you mentioned about auto coding. Is that something you can turn off if it gets too pesky?
It is. If you find that the auto code function is jumping in with some suggestions that are more painful than helpful, then you can scroll to the bottom of your reconcile screen where you normally change pages. There's a little tick box option underneath that says turn off auto code. If you untick that box, Xero will stop those auto coding suggestions and just leave it to the rules. If you're finding it's annoying, then you can easily get rid of it.
Cool. Did we have any further questions about Xero, or are we happy to steam ahead into Hubdoc?
I think let's get into Hubdoc, Ryan, and we can come back if there are any more Xero questions at the end.
Cool. So yeah, off to Mackenzie now, who is our Hubdoc expert in the firm. So she knows everything about it. So ask as many questions as you can.
Cool, thanks Ryan. Hi everyone, my name is Mackenzie and I've been with BDO Taranaki for 2 years now. I pretty much got involved in the software teams here straight away. We do a lot of work, not only internally, but looking at how these softwares can improve our client processes too. So today we're going to talk about, we've already looked at Xero, we're going to look at a Xero add-on called Hubdoc and how Hubdoc and Xero combined can streamline the overall accounting process. So just a little bit about Hubdoc. Hubdoc is a Xero add-on and it was recently purchased by Xero, so the integration is just going to keep growing and they're developing it all the time just to suit Xero as much as possible. So the way it works is you send your bills electronically through to Hubdoc that you receive via email. Hubdoc stores and extracts the key information, and then Hubdoc then syncs with Xero and allows for easy bank reconciliation, and there's also an opportunity in there for batch payments. So we'll just move on and look at this in a little bit more detail. So the key benefits of Hubdoc and cloud storage is kind of, we're really looking at reducing the paper, and you may already be receiving bills via email, and then part of your process is you receive an email, you print it off, just so you can kind of collate it and give it to your accountant at year end. The thing with Hubdoc is that it's a really easy to use online document storage. It's easy for us to access and for you to access, so it takes away the need to print and collate and send in documents at year end or every 2 months or whatever your current process is. The real significant time savings through Hubdoc is the ability to do batch payments in Xero. So you kind of cut down on the data processing and double handling, and you're doing the coding and creating bills in Xero, and then you've got the ability to bulk pay suppliers rather than going through each month and paying your suppliers one by one. So the way Hubdoc works is 3 kind of key stages, and these are shown in this diagram here. So the first thing you need to do is get your information into Hubdoc, and it can be done via email forwarding your bills. If you still receive things hard copy, you can actually just download the app for free, take a photo, upload it. If you have a scanner, you can also just scan in the hard copies, making it relatively easy to get information in. There is a customized Hubdoc email address for each file, and you just forward that on, and the PDF attachment comes through. The second stage of the diagram we have here is how it works in Hubdoc. So once you've sent everything in, the key data, including the supplier name, the date, and the amount is all extracted, and either your accountant or yourselves can review the information, code it in Hubdoc, and push it over to Xero. And the third and final stage is once the bill is in Xero, it's then matched to the corresponding bank transaction in the bank feed, and it actually has that source document attached to it. So if we had to look into something in Xero and we weren't sure on your coding, we could have a quick look, see the actual source document, and say, yep, that's fine, that's in the correct place, and we're happy with that. So we're just going to kind of break down these steps in a little bit more detail. So what we have here is how the document storage side of Hubdoc works. So we can see there's an example there called the Orange Demo Company. So once you send your information into Hubdoc, this is how it comes through. And Hubdoc will recognize the supplier name based on the invoice, and it will start to create these subfolders, which we can see on the left-hand side. So every time an invoice for that Orange Demo Company comes through, it'll just keep adding it into that supplier folder. And this process is all automatic. It doesn't require anyone to do any manual work. So it just does it in the background. So then if you did need to jump in and find something, or if your accountant needed to jump in and find something, they can just go straight into the supplier folder, and find the relevant invoice. There is also a really handy search bar at the top there, and you can search a few things. You can either put in an amount if you know a specific amount, or if you want to find a specific item. So maybe you purchased an asset and you can't remember the exact details, but if you just punch in the asset name, all of the invoices that actually contain that specific name will pull up, and you'll be able to find the invoice relatively easily. So now moving on to the auto extraction. So as we can see on the left-hand side here, we've got the copy of the invoice. So if you auto forward an invoice through, this is what it looks like, and it's pulled up the key information. So we can see it's highlighted the invoice number, the date, the amount, and the supplier. So what we do at this stage is we just have a quick look to make sure, with technology, it's one of those things, you just want to have a quick skim over it to make sure you're happy with what's extracted. In this case, we can see it's pulled up everything correctly, so we are happy with that. And then from this stage, we'd just actually code it up and push it over to Xero. So the good thing with Hubdoc and Xero is that they are in sync. So if you already know what your chart of accounts is in Xero, then it's the exact same in Hubdoc. So you just put in the account code, hit publish, and then that document will now be in Xero. Cool. So this is kind of the third and final stage of the diagram we were looking at the start. So once we've reviewed and coded in Hubdoc and pushed over to Xero, we can see from this example here how the bill has been automatically created in Xero with the invoice attached. So you'll be able to see the little highlighted number 1 towards the top right-hand side. So that's actually the source document that has pulled through. And we can also see the information that's come through from Hubdoc as well. So the supplier, the dates, the account code, and also the amount. So it's really handy for us as accountants and also yourselves to refer back to if we want to check something. We've got the source document handy, and it takes 2 seconds just to click onto it, have a look, and double check the coding there. So once the bill has been paid, this is a similar screen to the one we saw before in Melissa's presentation with the bank reconciliation. So we can see on the left-hand side the amounts come out of the bank account, and because the bill has actually been created in Xero, it matches off. So as we talked about, don't just hit OK on anything, just have a quick look. You can see the details in this case are correct. So you're pretty much happy just to hit OK on there once you've had a quick look to make sure everything's fine there. Cool. So by creating bills in Xero, we kind of have the option to do batch payments and take out the unnecessary time that people do spend manually paying their bills one by one each month. So for those of you who may not be aware of how batch payments work, it pretty much allows you to pay all of your bills in one bulk payment, meaning you can cut down on the time you spend paying your suppliers individually each month. And as we mentioned earlier, this is where the real time saver is. You're kind of taking away that you know, having to sit down each month and pay your bills one by one and go through and sort it out that way. So a quick overview on how the batch payment processes work using Hubdoc and Xero. So from your point of view, you just get your documents into Hubdoc, send them through, you jump into Hubdoc, you'd code and publish over to Xero, have a quick look at the extraction, and then from Xero, which we can see in this example here, there's 4 bills, and we can select all 4 of those bills and create a batch file, which can then be uploaded into your internet banking in one go. So different banks kind of have different limits on how many bills you can include in batch file, but if you're looking at about 20 or 30 plus bills a month, then that tends to be fine. There's no issues there, you just do them all in one go. Something to note is to be able to do batch payments, you just need to do a little bit of work in the background prior to this, so you just need to make sure your supplier details are entered in Xero, and those are the details that are included in the batch file uploaded into your bank, ready to pay. So this is kind of, the batch payment process is the start to finish process. This is the main way to utilise Hubdoc and Xero together, is to really take away the time you spend, 1, doing your coding, 2, then paying your bills, and doing all those tasks individually. This really, you do your coding and you pay your bills in one go. But there are other ways to use Hubdoc if you're just wanting to use it as a document storage system, so you and your accountant can access things easily. That's also available as well.
Do you just want to touch on Xero and Hubdoc being storage?
Being storage.
Being okay for cloud storage.
Oh yeah. So by pushing things over from Hubdoc to Xero, having all those attachments and documents in Xero is actually an approved IRD document storage system. So in theory, if you've pushed everything over, it's all in Xero, there's no need to hold on to your paper copies. You can just burn them, put them in the bin, do whatever you want with them. It's all good to, and as long as they're in Hubdoc and pushed over to Xero, it's IRD approved, so you're good to get rid of those paper copies. So if anyone has any questions about Hubdoc and Xero and batch payments and document storage and throwing out your paper, fire away and we'll have a look at what comes through.
Yeah, I do. So my first question is, if I don't use Hubdoc but just Xero and have all my documents stored in there, is that still IRD approved, or does it have to come through Hubdoc?
Yeah. So if you're not using Hubdoc, so Xero is the IRD approved software for document storage. So even if you're not using Hubdoc and you're just putting everything straight through to Xero, you're still it's still fine.
I know, I'm just old-fashioned. I still use Xero files, but apparently I need to change to Hubdoc. But my other question is that so I'm looking at all my invoices at the moment in my invoice folder in my email account, and so when it pulls through to Hubdoc and it puts it all those little folders, how does it know, for example, that, so I've got an email here and it comes from a person's name, and the only way I know what organization it comes from, it's to open up the actual PDF that's attached? Like, does Hubdoc somehow magically?
Yes, It's a really good question. So Hubdoc actually only pulls through the attached document. So if you're forwarding through a PDF, you literally just have to hit forward, send it to your Hubdoc email address. Hubdoc will just pull through the PDF attachment and it'll pull up that invoice. So that's actually all it needs. It doesn't need who sent it to you or any of that information. So it'll pull up the supplier based on the supplier name that comes from that PDF attachment.
Okay, so what if there's a message that comes with the PDF attachment that's important? What happens to that in Hubdoc?
So do you mean in the body of the email?
Yeah.
You can, there is an option, it does get a little bit technical, but when you forward an email through, there is an option to include a note as such. So if you put in a certain rule, I guess you'd call it, it'll pull through that note into Hubdoc. So it'll be an easy, so when you are reviewing that bill in Hubdoc, it'll have the note attached to it if there's something important in there.
Okay, cool. And so as well as storing invoices in Hubdoc, can I store other things like electrical certificates and
everything.
statements and all that?
Yeah, we recommend sending everything through to Hubdoc because you don't actually, I mean, even though there is the option to publish through to Xero, you don't actually only have to publish through. So we tell our clients to send everything in, whether it's a bank statement or an RWT certificate or any donation receipt, and at least that way we've got access to it. We can see it's there. We don't need to publish it through. It's just a good document storage system in general.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we've been using it for clients for a couple of years, using Hubdoc and other sort of alternatives as well. And so we're getting to a point with clients where they don't have any paper copies, and then basically on balance date, everything's there, so we don't need to ask. I've even had clients say we need something signed. They sign it, scan it to Hubdoc, and then they say it's all in there. And in Hubdoc, you can also tag items. So if it's for a specific entity, you can say that's for that company or for that trust as well. So it does get really powerful. And as Mackenzie said, it's all automatically bringing it into those folders.
Yeah, I forward everything to Xero files and go. Apparently, I'm one of the only people that uses Xero files properly.
No, there's still a few out there.
It just with Xero files, to really be able to find things, then you're needing to sort them into folders once you get it into Xero files, kind of like you'd be doing in your emails as well. Where Hubdoc is going to save a bit of time, if you were looking to do that, then it would do all of that automatically for you, so it's all stored separately, rather than you having to go and manually do that. So at the moment, Hubdoc, depending on what type of Xero file you've got, if you're on a business edition, which so by business edition we mean the standard version or the starter version, you get Hubdoc for free. There's no extra cost. If you're on one of the lower, if you're on the cash book versions, then it is an additional cost. But if you're on the business edition, it's a free add-on. Yeah,
included in your subscription that you get.
And you're just talking about checking them all in your emails. We've even got some clients that are going straight to their suppliers and giving them their Hubdoc email address. So then they're not getting any emails from their suppliers in their own email box. So that's really condensing down all the emails they're getting. And then in Hubdoc, when you code, there's a review tab. So they're using that as their sort of to-do list there to either code it or to save it or to do whatever they need to do with that piece of information.
And another option is some people still do like to see the bills coming through the inbox. So they'll just set up an auto forward rule. So every time that supplier sends a bill through, it automatically forwards onto Hubdoc ready for us to see as well.
Mackenzie, in terms of format, does it have to be PDF, or I mean, some people send invoices through in all kinds of different formats. Do you have to convert it first?
No, you don't have to. So the way it works with people obviously still receive a lot of paper copies, and if that's the case, then you can just take a photo and it uploads that as a photo. So it's not just PDFs. There are a few other options there, and the photos, it's got the the latest technology in terms of being able to read information and make the documents as clear as possible. So it does pull through those as well.
And I guess my second question was, if you've got all that thing going through, and then say a week later you think, hang on, I've sent that invoice through, it's all sort of gone into the system, but I've actually got a problem with it. There was only 10 bags, not 15 bags that I want to put a hold on it, can you go in there and reverse it or something like that?
Yeah, so it depends. If you're looking at doing it for a batch payment, then you just choose not to pay that bill that particular month. You could either just completely remove it, or if you want to put it on hold and maybe review it and then pay next month, then you just leave it there as a waiting payment bill. Or if maybe you're disputing something on the invoice and you're only part paying it, you can choose to only pay a portion of that invoice as well. And then just when it's adjusted or whatever the result of the dispute is, then you can follow up next month and pay the remainder or not pay the remainder or whatever the outcome might be.
It'll recognise if you send through, say, you get an invoice, you send it straight through, and then you ring supplier and say, hey, there's a problem. They send you through a replacement invoice. Will it recognise that, or do you have to go in and delete the original one?
You'd probably just go in and delete the initial one.
Okay.
if you were disputing it. Yeah, depending on whether we look at it or whether clients look at themselves. If the client's looking at it themselves, they'd easily know to delete it. We'd probably have a look at it, see it's similar information, and just delete the original one as well.
Thank you.
Do you want to just do a quick brief about the app that Hubdoc's got?
Yep. So one of the options we talked about was taking a photo of your paper copies. So it's just a free app you can download from the App Store. It's super easy to use. You just log in with your details. There's a camera button. You hit the camera button, take a photo, and upload it. And within a few seconds, it'll pop through into Hubdoc, and you can see the information processing straight away. So it is a good habit to get into if you receive paper copies, just to open the app, take a photo, and then that's your job done.
Be really good for like fuel receipts and things like that if you just take a copy rather than losing it somewhere in the car. So yeah, and probably on that Xero, the app as well, Melissa?
Yep, Xero has an app as well that works very similar. There is a photo function in there as well. But it's also something that if you're on the go a lot, or you're heading away and you're not taking a laptop and want to get some coding done while you're on holiday, as everybody loves to do, then it's right there at your fingertips that you can still do all of that stuff that you'd normally do in the web browser on the app. And just an extra thing on those cameras in both the Xero and the Hubdoc app, the camera and the detail that it picks up is way better than if you were just going to take a normal photo on your phone. We've had some clients just grab their phone, open their camera app, take a photo, and you can't really read the detail on it when they email it through. The Xero and the Hubdoc one, because it's designed to capture the data, will have a clearer picture that all of that automatic reading function will work if it's taken from the app as well. So it's really good.
Cool. Did anyone have any other questions about Hubdoc?
Yeah, just question on fees and costs. I guess, are you going to give a breakdown of how that works?
So is that for Xero and Hubdoc?
Yeah, I guess I just get an understanding. Obviously, there's a fee for Xero, and then I guess there's an add-on fee for using Hubdoc, and then another fee for using Figured.
So
are the fees scaled to turnover, or is it a flat fee?
So there are a few different types of Xero files you can get. So there's a few basic ones, which is just your GST cash book or your non-GST cash book, and then it moves up into the standard version, which is called the business edition version. So as I was saying earlier, Hubdoc and Xero, well, Xero now own Hubdoc. So if you're on that business edition version of Xero, Hubdoc is free as part of your Xero subscription. So there's no additional cost for Hubdoc if you're on that business edition version.
And the price sort of depends on who your advisor are as well. So different accounting firms and business advisors get different rates depending on their level of subscription numbers. So we have, is it Platinum?
With Platinum.
Yeah, so Platinum, so we get the best discounts we can and we pass on as much as we can to our clients. So yeah, that sort of monthly or annual fee is really dependent, but if you are going through an advisor, it is always going to be cheaper than just going straight through the website.
But generally, Xero figured, as you mentioned, they're both monthly subscriptions, and it's dependent on which version of the product you're on rather than anything linked to turnover. So it depends on which functionality you're thinking you're needing and being on that subscription, and it's a set monthly charge based on that subscription rather than anything else.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and we've had clients move from the cash book, the cheaper version, to the full business edition, and the extra cost that is a month is so small compared to the amount of time that these clients are saving. So they're thinking it's such a great thing to pick up, and especially like not having to keep 7 years of records hanging around.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. Go to the next one. Yeah, so just what's next from here. So we always suggest to get the right advice. So if you're not sure, make sure you are calling in to talk to your advisor to make sure that's right. And it is really, really key when you're implementing and going into Xero or into any other software is to make sure you schedule time with your advisor over those first 3 to 6 months to make sure you are getting what you think you're being sold. So make sure that everything is going right, making sure that someone's checking it for the first couple of times, going through those batch payments. We've done batch payments with all the banks, so we know what not to do. So we're sort of learning as we're going, but now we've dealt with all the major banks and we really know what we're doing in that batch payment and Xero space. You can also organise one-on-one training sessions to get really in depth of any questions you have. And at BDO, we also have a thing called Walk-in Wednesday. So this is for anyone, so not just clients of ours, but every Wednesday between 9 and 11, you can come in with any of your burning Xero or Hubdoc or figure questions that you may think of, and there'll be our team here. It's their team of about 10 of us that are doing it every week. So, and these are quite popular, and people think that maybe it is just a silly question, but then you can come in with confidence and just ask a quick question. And just like to touch on Xero Masterclass. So coming up soon, we'll be running sessions in the office where there'll be 2 trainers sort of going through everyone, and they are using all their own Xero files. Yep. Is that right? Yep, so everyone's on their own Xero files. So instead of looking at a demo file, going back, going, everything looks different to me, that you're on your own information, and these have been really valuable around the country. So yeah, so that's our presentation today. So is there any other questions that anyone has about Xero, Hubdoc, or anything cloud-based?
Hey guys, I'll just take the chance to say thank you guys very much for your time. I know that takes a wee bit of sort of time and patience to put these presentations together, so it is much appreciated, and certainly from where I was sitting, that was very enlightening. I've taken a whole lot of notes for my wife. I'm sure she'll appreciate that.
Trying to make accounting interesting.
Yeah. No, it was really good. So thank you guys very much for your time. So if there's any more questions from Nick or Liam, Wendy or Teresa, then now's your chance. Otherwise, we will reconvene next week.
Cool. Yeah, and just touching on those masterclass, if that is something that you're interested in, you can just drop one of the 3 of us an email, and we'll keep in touch of when these will be run.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate you guys joining, and yeah, we'll stay on the line, BDO team, and we'll just have a quick recap once we're all done. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.